Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Free Thinker Cast. I'm Hannah, and in today's episode we are going to be doing the episode 2 review of Harry and Meghan that dropped on Netflix last week on Thursday. I'm going to give you all my thoughts on that, especially the articles that they said were quote-unquote racist. We'll get into that just in a moment, but remember to make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. If you share this video, comment below. This is one of the best ways we can boost the algorithm and help this help this episode and podcast get out to more people who just really need to hear this different perspective. They went through there were three main articles that they spoke about in the documentary. Not spoke about. There was one that they mainly spoke about, and there were others that they kind of threw in as transitions, and they'd highlight these words, like evil words that were written about Meghan, racist words that were written about Meghan. And the main one that I kind of want to dissect today is the one where it says, this is from the Daily Mirror, Harry's girl is all in parentheses almost straight out of Compton, gang scarred, home of her mother revealed. So will he be dropping by for tea? And then there was this whole part where she was like, what do you mean Compton? I've never been to Compton before. Meghan was like, I've never been to Compton before. And I just remember thinking, is this a culturally, racially, socioeconomic attack? What is this? Is it a classist thing? Is it a racist thing? Why Compton? If you're British, Compton means nothing to us. What the heck is Compton? Compton is in America. What are you talking about? But obviously we know that Straight Out of Compton is a movie, it's a popular movie, it's a cultural reference to the popular movie Straight Out of Compton, where it features a predominantly black cast, predominantly black actors as the main characters. So maybe this is kind of like being like a condescending remark to her race, which is definitely a definitely a valid criticism, but to what extent? So if you look at the racial demographics of Compton, 28, according to World Population Review, 28.49% of people that live in Compton are white. 27.58% of people that live in Compton are black. Two or more races, 7.91%. Asian, 1.05%. There are more white people that live in Compton than black people. Can you say this is racially motivated? If actually the predominantly of the racially motivated, if the predominant racial demographic of that city is actually white? Right? When we think of Compton, the first thing that kind of springs to my mind, because of movies like Straight Out of Compton, and because I know the cultural reference and the cultural significance of these types of movies, I know it's to do with gang violence and gang wars, which doesn't actually only affect black people. It actually affects white people as well. I mean, most people who are poor in Britain are white. Most people who are poor, because there's more white people than there are black people, but we think this is a uniquely black problem. But in actuality, it just isn't. There's more white people in this derelict town than there are black people. So is this racially motivated? Look at the bullet points. Crenshaw has endured 47 crimes, because that's where she's actually from, Crenshaw, not Compton. 47 crimes in the last week, including murder. Gangs, including the Bloods, count the neighbourhood as their territory. What is the Bloods? British, what is the Bloods? We're British. Apparently there's a gang in Crenshaw. We don't know anything about this. The frig is this? Why are you projecting this onto all British people like we're all racist, when it's clearly this article that's making a very, very classist attack on Meghan, right? Markle's social worker mum, Dora Raglan, lives in the rundown area, and the actress's aunt, Ava Burra, is in a nearby gang-afflicted Inglewood, which is another nearby area to Crenshaw. So it seems to me, just by looking at this, that this is the most this article is so unbelievably classist. Look at some of the other things it says in here. I just think they're worth me noting. Heavy emphasis on crime, street gangs. It's talking about nothing but, there is no mention of black people in this article whatsoever. The only mention of a black person is actually from a direct quote from Meghan. So she goes, my dad is Caucasian and my mum is African American. She also wrote about being a light-skinned baby, so when people saw her black mother pushing her in the pram, they assumed she was the nanny. This is the only mention of black in the whole article. And I am going to link this down below. You can have a read for yourself. If you actually read into it, it just seems like what the media is attempting to do, or what this article is attempting to do, is highlight the stark divide of class, the stark class divide. And that's what they're attempting to do. They're attempting to amplify that, kind of make Meghan look really bad and Harry look really good. It's like a rags to riches story. This is what I believe the article is getting at. It's like a rags to riches story. She came from this poor, derelict area, and they're using the cultural reference of Straight Out of Compton to highlight that. And it can easily be misinterpreted as having racial undertones for the very fact that Straight Outta Compton is like a black movie. It's a black movie, except as we have already established, there's more white people living in Compton than black people. So let's stop pretending that poverty is strictly a black problem when everybody goes through it. We're all having to turn our heating off this winter. Let's calm down. Do you know what I'm like? That's just the first article. Now, they also highlighted the word exotic. There was an article where she said she had exotic DNA and this really dramatic music, and they highlighted exotic DNA. Like somebody wrote that Meghan had exotic DNA. And I'm just thinking, what's wrong? How are you insinuating this in the worst possible way? Are you saying that they're likening her to an animal? Like an animal? Is this what it's trying to do? Is it trying to create an animalistic image because she's black? Is that what you're trying to insinuate through highlighting with dramatic music exotic DNA? Let's take a look at the article where they said that she had exotic DNA. Okay, so if there is issue from her alleged union with Prince Harry, the Windsors will thicken their watery thin blue blood and Spencer pale skin and ginger hair with some rich and exotic DNA. Doesn't that sound like it's glorifying her? Hang on a minute. Let's just read the whole article together, okay? So this is from the Daily Mail again, because apparently that's the only articles that Prince Harry reads, because literally everything was quoted from the Daily Mail. Literally everything. So I've done my due diligence on Miss Markle, and this is where I stand. Genetically, she is blessed. If there is issue from her alleged union with Prince Harry, the Windsors will thicken their watery thin blue blood and Spencer pale skin and ginger hair with some rich and exotic DNA. Miss Markle's mother is a dreadlocked African-American lady from the wrong side of the tracks who lives in LA, and even the sour spinster has to admit that the 35-year-old actress is extremely easy on the eye. Miss Markle has an active social conscience, and anti-landmine campaigner Princess Diana would be delighted that she is the ambassador for World Vision and has toured Afghanistan and Rwanda as part of her humanitarian effort. Wow. I need to also mention they highlighted the fact that they said that her African-American mother was from the wrong side of the tracks. Like that was an evil thing to say. But within the context of this whole paragraph praising her, it just seems like they're trying to elevate her. It seems like they're trying to lift her up. She's beautiful. Princess Diana would love her. And I'm just so confused because how could she have interpreted this and use this as an example to prove that the British press is racist when it's clearly glorifying her, saying, yeah, her mother came from the wrong side of the tracks, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily because of race, as we've already established. Most people in Compton are white. So they're using these articles. It was interesting because I had to keep pausing it because they kept putting new articles, headline after headline after headline after headline. If you just read the headline, you can easily formulate your assumptions, and you are therefore prone to more misconceptions and misinterpretations because you're not giving it the entire context. Read the whole article. It seems like they are viciously attacking her class and her upbringing. And article number 3, meet the family. How Harry's American girl's ancestors were a tailor, a teacher, and a cleaner in racially divided Jim Crow South, while his were ruling the British Empire. Immediately, I'm just thinking they are dividing and amplifying their backgrounds. What has this got to do with their undying love between nothing? They're just trying to draw in the history. They're trying to. The media are trying to run on this narrative. Like, what's wrong with saying her ancestors were a tailor, a teacher, and a cleaner? A job is a job. But then meanwhile, his were touring the British Empire. They're attempting to conflate the histories of slavery and the British Empire, and reconcile the two in a way that's the most damning for the family, and it's the best way they can spin it. Like the gravity of slavery, and then actually the fact that the British Empire were responsible for that, and they're conflating the two. She descended from slaves. He descended from the British Empire that enslaved those slaves. That's the image they're painting. They're not actually saying, we have a problem with you because of the colour of your skin. They are trying to draw the division. They are trying to make that stark contrast. Here it even says, her ancestry is a stark contrast to Prince Harry's. His includes kings, queens, and earls. Hers a teacher, a tailor, and a cleaning shop worker. It's a rags to riches story. Like, oh my goodness, how are we actually seeing this, that someone can descend from a slave and actually marry into the family that formerly enslaved her ancestors? Oh, Britain is classist. Britain is classist. And those are the main articles that I just wanted to debunk. Are they racist? Are they classist? Let me know what you think. I'm going to tag it all the links in the comment section below. There will always be racist people in this country, but I know for a fact the articles that they provided, I'm not buying this whole racist narrative. I genuinely believe, in my opinion, this is the most classist thing I've seen in my life. Daily Mail. Also, Harry, pick up a new newspaper. Like, there's other newspapers that exist out there. What about the ones that were glorifying you? You didn't talk about how... You haven't spoken about how welcoming Britain was to you and your girlfriend. How much they actually loved you guys. They loved you guys. And I say they, because in the beginning, you guys know I didn't even care that much. There's also a part in this episode where we get to see Meghan's feminist villain origin story. She basically talks about how she watched a washing up liquid commercial or advert. She calls it commercial because she's American. She saw a washing up liquid advert where women were doing the washing up, and she said, huh? She said, what? No. She said, no. She was so enraged that what did she do? Did she burn all of the washing detergent in her home? Did she pour fairy into her husband's tea? What did she do? No. She wrote a letter. Oh my gosh.
Women are fighting greasy pots and pans.
And I said, wait a minute, how could somebody say that? I think I'll write a letter. The president of Procter & Gamble Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Dear Sir, last week at my school, we decided to watch the news for social studies. While through the channels, we saw a commercial for the new Ivory Clear dishwashing liquid.
He's probably thinking, oh, the advert worked then. It got to my target audience, a woman.
In the commercial, they said women are battling grease, meaning only women do dishes.
No, but it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that only women do dishes. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that only women do dishes. It means that women are the target consumer audience. Especially because they're the ones that they're the homemakers.
When I heard this, the boys in my class started saying, yeah, that's where women belong, in the kitchen.
Okay, so some trolls in her class, some boys in her class decided to troll her clearly. Because what do little boys do? Of course they do this stuff. They clearly were just trolling her, but she couldn't take a joke. So here we see evidence of Meghan Markle fighting for things that don't matter at a very young age. She had a lot of potential. Who would have thought that now she wouldn't be writing letters? When she grows up, she'll be writing the most inauthentic scripts and delivering them on an Archetypes podcast that is so insufferable. And not complaining about women doing the dishes, but complaining about other things like women being called divas and women being called crazy. And she might have been able to change the world when she was young, and it gave her a false sense of purpose. And she was able to do so much so young. She was probably thinking, yeah, I'm on top of the world. But then you get to a certain age, and you realise there's not much to change anymore. Women have actually got it pretty good. They've actually got more rights than men. We are favoured in the courts, in the family courts, in terms of custody battles. Women are always winning these custody battles. Women are prioritised in terms of their account or their accusations of assault. They're almost taken as unequivocal truth. It's like believable women. We have so much, Meghan. We've actually overfought in the name of women's equalities and women's freedoms. We've run out of things to fight for. Now we're complaining that people are calling us divas. And Mariah Carey's not buying it. She owns the word diva. Mariah is Mariah. What can we say?
I really don't think it was very nice for the boys to say it.
They knew it hurt my feelings.
Feminist villain origin story. They knew it hurt my feelings. See, normally this would have been resolved in the classroom setting, but this is actually the media blowing things up and blowing altercations or incidences that could have been resolved on an interpersonal level and making a huge political statement out of it. Where have we seen this before? Gozzy Polani.
It makes me feel like they're gonna grow up thinking that girls are less than them. You know, like boys are better than girls.
That's not true. Any man who's married to a woman and has a family and the woman does the dishes, he is nothing but thankful. He's nothing but appreciative. Ask any man when they grow up and they get home from a 12-hour shift and their woman has done the cooking and the cleaning and everything's washed and everything's clean and the kids are in bed. He is nothing but grateful. He, in fact, looks at those women and he thinks, how do you do this? They're thinking, how do you do this? They're all in bed, everything's clean, you've made this food. How they look at this woman like she's superwoman. They have nothing but reverence for their wives. But of course, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the other person feels. It doesn't matter that somebody jokes about something. It doesn't matter what the other person's perspective is. What matters is how you or Meghan feels about it. It doesn't matter what the truth is. What matters is how Meghan interprets it, how the liberals interpret it.
So I was wondering if you would be able to change your commercial to people all over America. Thank you, Meghan Markle.
Yeah, so she was able to change the entire advert. So you see that little part in the beginning where they were throwing the gloves away? Woo, 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 woo. Threw it off. It's all because of her letter. Now it's given her false hope and a false sense of future and purpose and importance because I was able to do so much at such a young age. And I blame the parents. The parents should have done... Oh my gosh, I blame her mum. Her mum should have said, suck it up. But obviously, she didn't have her father around in her life. Oh, sorry, she lived in a separated home. Like, her parents were separated. So she probably saw her mum doing everything. Doing the cleaning, doing the cooking, doing the work. She saw her mum do everything. So she was upset by these traditional gender roles for the very fact that she didn't come from a traditional family. And that's literally the hallmark of the left. It's different for me. It's different for the minority. So everything for the majority must change. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's common sense. That a woman should come home, that a woman stays at home while the man works and therefore she looks after the house and he brings the bread and they have interdependence there. What matters is there's a minority of people out there who don't have those typical nuclear family structures or they live in separated homes, they live in two homes. They want to change the world. But the problem is the world doesn't want to change.
Procter & Gamble changed the commercial. Listen.
Now they're throwing the gloves away. Woo! This, we don't care about our homes or our husbands anymore. He's going to come home and he's going to be after a 12-hour shift and nothing's going to be cleaned and nothing's going to be ready. And oh yes, feminism is destroying the home. Get out of it. Escape the trap. Escape the trap. I'm telling you for a fact, if my husband does a 12-hour shift, he will come home, there's food ready, the kids are in bed, period. And of course, the curtsy. She complained about the 1,000-year-old tradition. Last point I want to talk about is the curtsy, the infamous curtsy, what is this? It literally, I've never seen social media go so ballistic over something like this. She wants the traditions to revolve around her. She doesn't care that this is what they've been doing for thousands of years. People have been living in two-parent homes under the same roof for thousands of years, millions of years. What matters is she's never been exposed to this environment. What matters is she's never experienced it before. So it's important now that much must change, or that must now adjust to her reality. She doesn't like the fact that the formalities continued behind the scenes and they weren't just upheld before the public. This is also why I did a whole episode on the Free Thinkers about why white people do have culture. This whole curtsying thing, the whole royal family, the whole smiling way, that's white culture. You talk about white people not having culture, this is white culture. And this is why we need to stop. Don't look down on white people. Say, oh, you don't even have culture. What do you do? What's your culture? Not seasoning your food. The reason why Britain has been able to embrace multiculturalism is because we look at other cultures and we celebrate it. We literally have a whole month where we worship black people. We have we have Diwali, we have a Chinatown, we have a China in London. There is a China inside of London. The whole idea is we embrace every single culture but white culture because we refuse to acknowledge that one exists. And if you refuse to acknowledge that a white culture exists, you refuse to integrate. You simply cannot integrate into a culture that you don't believe is there. What do you mean, celebrate the Royal Jubilee? No, what the heck? What do you mean, listen to... White people love listening to house, and they make fun of how white people listen to house. That's like white people music, they say. Not gonna lie, although it's like predominantly adorned by white people house, it is still very, very good, and there's no reason why you cannot just... I'll bring you flowers in the pouring rain. Whatever they want to say about house, it is pretty good. It's pretty decent. right? So rather than looking down on white culture, acknowledge it as a culture, and then you can respect it enough to integrate, because we can integrate with Chinese people, we can integrate with black people, we can respect Notting Hill Carnival, we can respect Chinatown, Chinese New Year, we can respect every single culture in Britain, but we cannot respect white culture because they refuse to acknowledge that a culture exists. It's why Meghan's like, what do you mean I have to curtsy? What do you mean? If I brought somebody of a different ethnicity to my parents and he was like, I don't want to eat with my hands, because in my culture, Eritrean, Ethiopian culture, we eat with our hands. He's like, I don't want to eat with my hands. That is mad disrespectful. He has to at least try. Even if it's not for him in the end, you need to see that he tried. And it's the same thing with Meghan being brought into Harry's culture, into Harry's tradition. She doesn't respect it. She doesn't respect it. And that's why the media's going insane, because if this was any other race, if this was any other ethnicity, I don't want to wear your traditional Indian clothes, I don't want to wear this, you would be eaten alive. What you have right now is loads of ferocious English people that love the tradition of the royal family, that admire the royal family, that are sick and tired of being told that they don't have a culture. This is English culture. This is white culture. Dynasty of kings, English queens, the royal family, the monarchy. They do have a culture. Respect it. So if you agree with this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you disagree for any reason, let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. What are your free thinker thoughts? And share this video with all of your friends, because I'm tired of them bashing our royal family. I'm done. I'm so done. And I will see you next time.